On behalf of the Alzheimer's Association and Mayo Clinic, welcome to Meeting of the Minds. Receiving a diagnosis of dementia is never easy. It's life-changing, but it doesn't define a person, and it doesn't define you. Today you will hear from inspiring presenters, experts in the dementia field, insightful caregivers, innovative community members, and determined, action-oriented people living with dementia, people like Dale. They are changing our minds about people whose minds are changing. Thank you for joining us and for being part of this change at how we look at and treat people with Alzheimer's and other dementias. I'd like to take a moment to thank our top sponsors, including Allina Health and Walker Methodist, as well as those listed on the screen and all of our sponsors for making this day possible. We'd also like to take a moment to recognize a few key people: the Conference Planning Committee, the Alzheimer's Association and Mayo Clinic staff, our volunteers, and there are lots of them here today, and our conference co-chairs, Linda Lawrenson from the Alzheimer's Association and Angela Lundy from the Mayo Clinic. Angela has co-chaired this event since 2007, way back when it started. Her expertise, passion, and connections in the dementia field have made Meeting of the Minds a trailblazing dementia conference nationwide. Angela drives the content of this event to include cutting-edge research and innovative approaches to dementia care. She closely works with people impacted by dementia, empowering them to live their lives to the fullest. This year's conference theme of Changing Minds is what Angela has been doing in her day-to-day work. The staff at the Alzheimer's Association consider it an honor to work with her and her team from Mayo. Please join me in welcoming Angela Lundy.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you for those very kind words. And Sue, for your incredible leadership with the regional and local chapter of the Alzheimer's Association. On behalf of Mayo Clinic, welcome to the Meeting of the Minds Dementia Conference. This is the 12th conference we've done in collaboration with the Alzheimer's Association. To prepare for this day, it has been terrific working around my friend and colleague, Linda Lorenzen, the staff at the Alzheimer's Association here at the local chapter, and my colleagues at the Mayo Clinic. We decided this year to open up the conference with the real experts taking the stage. You already met Dale. The next two you will hear from represent the caregiver. I like to use the word care partner. Others of you I know prefer support partner. But we all know who we are talking about, the men and women who find themselves in an unrequested role that is often emotionally and physically demanding. Every care partner brings their own perspectives, values, and experiences to this role, their own stories unfolding each day. So here's a teaser. The stories you are about to hear are not about the perfect care partner. They are not full of triumph or fairy tale endings. But those are not the sorts of stories that bind us. What binds us together is our struggles, our imperfections, the shared everyday, real human experience. I'd like to introduce to you Michael Horvich. I met Michael in Chicago last year. I was drawn to his story. I was even more drawn to his charm and character. I think you're about to see what I mean.
Good morning. You need to help me with my self-confidence. If you were up here and saw what I see, you'd be a little nervous, so let me do that again. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. That makes me feel better. My name is Michael, and the story I'm about to tell you is a very personal one. I'm not afraid to cry in front of you, but talking and crying doesn't work well together. So if I do get choked up, I will just pause for a moment, take several deep breaths, and then I'll be back before you even notice that I've gone. Gregory, my husband of over 41 years, was diagnosed with dementia, most likely Alzheimer's, when he was 55 years old in the 29th year of our 41-year relationship. Together, we were on the dementia path for 12 years. Let me say that I'm not an expert in the area of dementia, but rather someone who has experienced it directly and intensely. Let me tell you a little bit about me. I hold a bachelor's degree in liberal arts, a master's degree in education, and an advanced certificate in education administration and supervision. I'm an educator. I taught elementary school for 35 years. I've worked with children in regular education as well as with children with special needs. I was an administrator for a talented and gifted education program and taught junior high Spanish. I've taught a number of university-level courses and workshops. I've been retired for 20-plus years. In order to gain that accomplishment, you have to be old first. I qualify. But I've been more than active since my retirement, continuing as an educator, a speaker, a writer, a poet, a blogger, an actor, an opera supernumerary, a children's museum curator. You'll like this one, a flea circus ringmaster, and a dementia Alzheimer's care partner. Gregory, let me tell you a little bit about him. He earned a bachelor's degree from Wesleyan University in Connecticut and received his master's in architecture at Harvard with Phi Beta Kappa recognition. He ran his own high-end architecture and interior design firm, served as architect of record for the Baha'i National Temple Shrine in Wilmette, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago. He was a writer, an artist, was well-versed in art and music, concert-level pianist, won many awards for his architecture and interior design skills. He was not a victim of Alzheimer's. He was a hero. He did not suffer with dementia, Alzheimer's, but rather lived as well as possible, refusing to accept the diagnosis as a death sentence. I never referred to it as his diagnosis. It was always our diagnosis. And actually, we were relieved when we first received the diagnosis because then we knew what we had been experiencing already. And we could prepare for the future, and we could live life to its fullest. Although at the time, we did not realize the roller coaster ride that we would be on for the next 12 years. The doctors were able to rule out what was not going on, for example, vitamin B deficiency, small strokes, Parkinson's, whatever. But being a progressive, incurable disease, what can doctors really do, except, as I've talked to many people, maybe give us more information on how to live well with the disease? Towards the middle and end, they were very, very supportive in helping Greg medically and help in his passing. They prescribed drugs like Aricept and Namenda, which purportedly slow down the disease. But from my point of view, how do you measure slow down? Based on what standard, what baseline? Instead of spending time medicalizing the experience, I worked very hard at creating a new sense of family, home, and relationship to fit Gregory's changing needs. For the most part, he dealt with the disease in his usual calm manner. At a certain point later, the Alzheimer's dementia put up a buffer, so he wasn't really fully aware of the changes that he was going through. We were very fortunate. In the beginning, I refused to refer to myself as Gregory's caregiver. I didn't want to reduce him to the level of being my patient. This was the man that I had loved for so long. I remember thinking if the disease would only stop here, I'd be content. But of course, as you know, progress it did. And the resting level periods were shorter, The needs to rethink and reestablish normalcy continued, sometimes on a daily basis, sometimes hourly. Being able to monitor and provide for his increasing needs in a respectful, understanding way, which was the milestone of our relationship, yet not letting him become overly frustrated or confused, became more and more difficult. My role in providing for both of our lives continued to increase over time. My main job became making sure that Gregory knew who he was, where he was, that he was in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing. If lost, physically or emotionally, that we would always find each other, and we did. He always knew who I was, his love for me, and his place in my life. He knew he could trust me, that he was safe, loved, valued, and respected. The times were not easy, but we persevered, and we did a good job. I was able to help support him in being free of his worries and fears. I was able to compensate him for the abilities that were changing, and always tried to make sure, again, that the respect and communication that heralded our relationship never faltered. Yes, there were times when he became depressed, sad, frustrated, and fearful, as did I, but most of the time he was happy and content. Gratefully, I was retired and had all the time in the world for us and for him. We had all of our legal arrangements and end-of-life wishes in order. Being a same-sex couple, we had to have a number of special permissions and protections in place before the right for same-sex couples to marry took place. Yes, again, there were times when he became depressed, sad, frustrated, and fearful. We closed his business, and our time was now our own. We were fortunate that financially we were able to do so. Each day, our love continued to grow, and our tagline became, "I love you more than ever." Family and friends were available and offered their support, but they had lives of their own. They couldn't really understand what I was going through. Only if you're going through it or supporting someone going through it can you truly understand the facts and the reality of your life. I made sure that our daily life was full, rich, and meaningful. We enjoyed our condo and living in very active downtown Evanston, Illinois. We entertained, enjoyed family and friends in our home, ate out, cooked at home, went to the opera and theater events, buoyed up by our pets with their unconditional love. We traveled in the U.S. and Europe and Mexico, sometimes for a month at a time. That became more and more difficult for me to monitor, but it was worth it. We were able to simplify our lives and keep the most meaningful parts. We continued to be compassionate with each other, ourselves, and those around us. Our life was filled with much laughter as well as many tears, much joy as well as with sorrow. We learned to carry them both. Above all, our life was filled with love and trust. As the dementia progressed and we were no longer to be able to discuss together the experiences or our difficult exchanges, I turned to my computer to write. This helped me process my understandings and emotions, keep family up to date on what we were going through, and share with others who might tune into the blog that I created. The essays and poetry just seemed to leap forward. The more difficult the situation, the more verbose I was able to be. And you can tell I have difficulty with being verbal. Over 5 years, I posted 1,500 entries with over 150,000 people tuning into the blog, which made me feel very good. Gregory was at home for 10 plus of his years living with dementia, but his medical needs and physical needs became so great that short of turning the condo into a 24/7 hospital ward staffed with doctors and nurses, I was not able to meet his needs. I found an excellent memory care facility about 10 minutes from the house, so I was able to visit him often, sometimes twice a day. I did feel guilty at moving Gregory to the facility. However, he developed an amazing new sense of community and belonging. He was now in a really safe, clean environment. The meals were delicious. You don't hear that too often, but I did taste them all, and they were good. The medical support and the presence of many people and the activities around him were all positive attributes of my decision and contributed to his well-being at being at a mental health facility. I played an active role in determining Gregory's health care. The healthcare facility always respected my wishes as well as helping me to understand best practices. Hospice joined our team about 9 months before Gregory passed. I am so grateful to this day for the medical help that hospice provided to Gregory, but also for helping me understand the trajectory of the disease and, in the end, the process of dying. One day, early in October 2015, I received a call from hospice informing me that it looked like Gregory was preparing himself to die. He was non-responsive for 3 days. The night before he died, I crawled into the narrow bed next to him, hugged him, and whispered, "Leave when you're ready. Don't worry about me. I will miss you, but I will be okay. Take care of yourself." If he needed it, I gave him permission to die. We had had this conversation a number of times before. Now here is what I call the miracle and Gregory's final gift to me. I kissed him goodbye on his open mouth 3 times after his being non-responsive for 3 days in a coma. On the 3rd kiss, he opened his eyes briefly and kissed me back. Hi, I'm back. On the next day, October 4th, 2015, Gregory died. Great love means great grief. You wouldn't want to have it any other way. I will always grieve at some level the loss of the love of my life, my best friend, my life partner. But that love carries me forward as I continue to lead a meaningful and useful life and as I support others facing similar experiences. Towards the end of Gregory's life, he and I were the subjects of a 15-minute documentary called Alzheimer's: A Love Story. To my amazement, it was accepted so far to over 90 film festivals, national, international, worldwide. It's won over 35 awards, and each time a new award came around, I was just amazed. The most prestigious of which were 2 from the American Pavilion at the Cannes Film Festival. There is a link to this documentary on my keynote handout on my website, which is Horvich, HORVICH.com. And you can also see the documentary later this morning if you're in my 11:45 breakout session called Exploring the Dimensions of Love, Grief, and Alzheimer's. My story today reflects my reality, which, like dementia, expresses itself differently for each person. So far today, thank you to Dale and my comments and to our other opening comments. We've talked about sorrow and joy. We've talked about human with heavy optimism, fortitude, faith, strength, creativity, a sense of joy, humility, inspiration, leadership, advocacy, and courage, among others. When we share our stories, when you share your stories, especially the tough ones, it opens our hearts and makes it easier for everyone to share their stories. Mostly, it gives us the feeling that we are not alone in this, because we are not alone. You are not alone. Thank you.